Did anybody want?
No, he'll
antlers?
just stick it at the
Did you
end
want
for the
antlers?
blooper reels.
I'll wear the antlers.
There you go. Match your shirt.
Green antlers guy.
Daniel, you want some?
Yeah, sure, pass them on. Why not?
I mean, they're here, so we might as well use them. Just saying. Oh,
Can we have a skull?
yeah, we're having a fight.
Can we have one of these skulls on the desk?
You
Sure,
can.
yeah,
Sure.
grab
We'll
one.
just really confuse everybody. Okay.
There you go. All right. Hello and welcome to another episode of Between the Studs.
I can't.
Daniel, you broke.
I'm sorry, I lost it.
That's staying in the cut.
All right,
we're gonna keep rolling. All right, so
We'll do it live.
yes, another episode Between the Studs. We're having a great time here. You may be asking, if you're watching from YouTube, not listening to a podcast, what is going on with the decorations? Well, on Thursdays at 6:30, we have Angie and Randy doing the joy of holiday building. Steven and Joe are taking a little break in the month of December, and they're having a great time. And so they decorate the studio for that to have an even more festive moment. And so because of that, because we started filming a little bit late today, we got in the way of their decorations. So we're working around it, and we're just going to have a great time. But we wanted to plug the Joy of Building. Be sure to go watch that Thursday, 6:30 p.m. Eastern Time on our channel. Live stream. It's a lot of fun. Anyway, back to the point of
A very
this
merry
video.
Lego Masters.
Exactly. A very good time on Lego Masters. It was the NASCAR-themed race. They had official NASCAR signs all over the place. They had the imaging, the branding. It was a very
Graphics and animations.
It was
really
an
nice.
in-depth episode, a very challenging episode, this is really quite next level. I mean, driving around your build, that's it's crazy. What did you guys think of the episode overall? Let's start with Chris.
Well, I love the challenge.
Yeah.
The getting to the pit crew to rebuild tires was a really good challenge.
Yeah.
It was a great idea. Sometimes it's like, and honestly, the speed of the cars was
It's pretty slow little carts, yeah.
Yeah, but I mean, you're in a little studio, so they did the best they could with what they had.
Yeah,
and
keeping it safe.
And the pit stop really made it a challenge because that was the speed build.
Yeah.
But I knew at the beginning of the episode, I didn't know, but I assumed, I was like, this is going to be one of those episodes where nobody goes home.
They
Because
can't
it just
send them
wouldn't be
home.
fair.
Yeah.
Yeah.
We'll talk about the judging in a little bit.
And all four teams are just so strong right now.
Yeah.
That to go home on this episode would not have been fair at all.
No.
I mean, it's going to suck next week, too. I don't want to see any one of these four teams go home.
Unless they do a 4-team finale, which would be different. But I think that probably someone will go home next week. We'll see.
They made it very explicit at the end of this one. We have 2 episodes left.
Mm-hmm.
Somebody's going home next week, and then we're going to the finale. So I think that's all pretty cut and dry. They weren't saying statements like that before this week because they wanted to leave it up in the air about whether or not anybody was going home this week. But now I think it's pretty set in stone.
I do appreciate that they are giving us a little bit of clue what's happening. I know in our season they didn't talk about why we use the golden brick, what episodes are happening, if someone's getting eliminated or not. This is a little bit more, they're not telling you, but it's more obvious. I don't know. I think at least at the end of the season it makes more sense. But Daniel, what did you think of the episode overall? We didn't get to hear your thoughts yet.
Very nice, structurally laid out. I've always liked the challenges where there's like some intermediary judging that gives you some advantages or disadvantages later on. We really haven't seen hardly any of that this season.
Not too much, no.
That was bigger maybe in seasons 1 and 2 when you had bigger twists and things that kind of happened in the middle of the episode. But yeah, I really like this. I was satisfied with the fact that they decided not to send somebody home. I think that would have been kind of cheap. As far as the speed of the cars, it was so slow in the first part, but they were clearly metering it because after the pit stop, I think the cars were going about twice as fast as they were.
It did seem to go faster, yeah.
And I don't think that was just tricky camera angles. I think they were limiting it in the first half and then bumped it up in the second half.
That's what they did for our RC challenge in our season.
Yeah.
So, because at first they were going really slow, and we didn't even realize because we're just trying not to get our cars destroyed, but then they doubled the speed, if not more, and Caleb went right off the side because of that.
Yeah, we all remember.
Best moment of the season. But then so this season, I think that they could totally have sped up the cars because they're going too slow.
Yeah.
They stopped for a pit crew, speed them up, and then let them go. So.
I mean, they were saying they were pedal to the metal, and you saw him going around the curves about like... He did not look like he was having a good time.
They looked like they were low battery from the start.
Yeah.
So, yeah.
No, they were definitely limiting it, I think, so that they could up it.
You could tell that, was it Brandon driving?
Yeah.
He had experience driving go-karts because he said if he can get that front car, she is not getting by him.
Yeah.
And when you're riding go-karts on a go-kart track,
you can't get around him.
You can really stop somebody from getting around you. But if you don't know how to do that, you could just whip right around them. Yeah. So by his comment, it was like, okay. He knows what he's doing. That's why he's the one driving, even though he was a lot bigger than
Nick and Stacy.
Yeah.
And since it was just a loop and the straightaways were short, and it was all left turns instead of like a figure eight or something where it switches, there was really no way to pass anybody.
No.
I mean, she would start to come up on him towards the end on a straightaway, and by then it was a turn, and you can't pass on the outside.
You're going
turn.
twice as much
It's just
distance.
impossible.
Yeah, it's just not. Yeah.
You have to cut back in, and then you're back in the same place you started.
Yeah. But so that really proved the blue team's strategy successful with the fact that they they've really focused on the pit crew. All three of the other builders were doing something. Meanwhile, on the red team, I think it was Big Steven Crash, who was just kind of back and forth assisting.
Staying out of the way.
And staying out of the way. And so that ended up really hurting them, I think, because the blue team beat them by a long shot in the pit crew.
Yeah,
And,
they had two builders, but Stacy was sorting the parts.
Yeah.
was the key difference. Crash couldn't.
And I think Greg went like lightning fast on his tire too. So.
And that's the whole purpose of a pit crew, is it's a crew, and everybody's got to be doing something to be absolutely, totally fast.
Yeah.
And that's great that it worked out that way, that it hurt them.
Exactly. It made all the difference for that challenge.
I don't know if you noticed Greg building, but he was...
Greg was the fastest builder in that little circle there. That was impressive. So
I was glad to see that the thing that made the difference was at least Lego related for the swapping the tires, and not other factors out of your control, or not Lego related, like the speed of the cars
or body
ability
weight
to pass on a lap, or body weight, or things like that. So really the outcome of the race was based off of Lego technique, but it was still good to see that nobody went home because of that.
Yeah, exactly.
Because that, for that to be the whole thing that the episode is judged on would be really harsh.
I like you guys, I thought there's pretty much, it would be so unfair to be sent home on a team challenge when it's like you really are just trying your best with another team to work on a project, and it's like, which one of that team do they send home? If or if they send both of them, there's only two teams left. No, it doesn't make sense. So it just had to be get by. Everyone just had fun, and there was a winner and stuff, but it was a team effort. Anyway, so
especially when there's only 4 teams. I mean, if they had done this when there were 6 or 8 teams and had 3 or 4 cars, you maybe could have been able to do that, and then throw in aesthetics as another component for judging. But I think it worked out.
I think what it really all came down to is when Brandon pulled out of the pit stop.
He got ahead.
He did it a little sooner, because I didn't hear anybody actually say, okay, you can go now, or a whistle or anything like that. It's like he determined he could leave because it looked like his team had rebuilt it right.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
Whereas I think Emily hesitated.
She did.
And I think she could have pulled out, because she was in front of him. She could have pulled out and at least been side by side with him and gotten ahead.
Yeah.
Blue team did get the verbal confirmation first, so maybe after the
Stacey
verbal confirmation,
kind of stepped over and was like, "Go, go, go!"
Yeah.
And he just floored it. They didn't know hesitation. I think, to your point there, Chris, I think Emily was not necessarily as in sync and just didn't get that instant
I
takeoff.
think it looked like she was waiting, like, is it okay? Can I go?
Yeah.
I mean, you have one shot at it.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It's like, it would be tough to refilm that.
Yeah.
Oh, hold on, guys, go back.
Yeah.
Emily left too soon.
You got half a second head start. I think that
it could be.
factored.
I mean, it could have been the kind of thing where they, cut the cameras as soon as they were done and had to go and inspect their tires to see if they were built right, and then. Who knows what happened. But yeah, I mean, when Brendan left the pit, he didn't go all the way to the outside. He clearly stayed very tight so that she had no way to get out of the pit.
Cut her off, basically.
Yeah, he did. And that's what you do.
That's what you have to do in a race,
Yeah, you got to get that pole position.
Oh, sorry, what's it called? I missed it.
Pole position.
The pole position.
I'm not familiar with that term.
Yeah.
The pole position?
Pole position.
Pole position.
Yeah.
Okay.
They didn't
Is anybody
mention that.
keeping count?
It was at least 6 times. I'm just saying.
More than that.
No.
It was 10 or a dozen. I don't know.
Now, I remember that from the early Nemeko video games where you had the little F1 race car, and that you wanted to get pole position. I think was that even the name of the game?
The name of the game I think was pole
Yeah,
position. Yeah.
and so that that was just bringing nostalgia to my mind.
Maybe that's why they were leaning into that term. I don't know.
Now, I'm not a big NASCAR fan, and Randy is probably the only NASCAR fan in the store that I know of, except maybe, was it Willis? Somebody else, I think, was into it. But so are you guys into NASCAR at all? Did you get it as much?
I like it. I don't dislike it, but I don't watch it or
You're
follow
not
it.
engaged in it as much as other sports. Yeah, I appreciate it for sure because it's really cool to see those cars just flooring it all around the track. But I do know who Jeff Gordon is. It was cool to see him. I didn't recognize the other driver they had on. I think he's an active racer versus a retired. But so it was cool to see them. I love the shenanigans at the beginning with Will getting in their car, trying to go through the window. What do you guys think of that?
What are you doing here? Well, it's a racetrack. What do you do? Oh, yeah.
And then he tries to hop in through the window of the car.
Twice. Yeah, he tries to get out through the window. I actually enjoyed that quite a bit. Sometimes Will's shenanigans kind of hit or miss, but I like these ones. That was funny. Right. So.
I think Jeff Gordon made a Talladega Nights reference, too. He said, you've got a slingshot. To get around it. I think he said that.
Yep.
And I don't think that's a real racing term. I think Talladega Nights made that up.
Yeah. Well, I do know that from watching a few races with some of my my aunt and uncle, they'll get right behind the other car, and that draft will actually speed them past the other cars, and then they can either try and race. So two cars using a strategy can get ahead of other race cars. So I think he might have been referencing that too. I don't know.
They did mention drafting, but that was not applicable.
No, there was no draft happening.
Drafting only works with aerodynamics, and these are not going nearly fast.
They were
enough
going walking speed, yeah. So,
but yeah, they were throwing in all those fun terms.
So let's talk a little bit about the aesthetics of the two cars, because that was a big part of the challenge other than the race. So the red team, which was the all-Canadian team, they had their Canadian colors, and they had a kind of a retro vibe to it. It looked like an older 60s car. And kind of different flares to it and stuff, too. What did you guys think about the builds themselves? Let's start with Daniel.
I really liked the story that they chose to tell with all of their decals. Decals that they put on the car that were referencing their all their old builds. They had the ones referencing the dinosaurs and the
fossil
the
fuels was good, yeah.
Yeah. So all those references are a fun way to tell a story. And the sculpting on theirs was great. The fact that they got all the way the sides and the back. They said it was a little skinny looking in the spoiler because they used a different technique to do it. But I think they nailed it, honestly. Nice bright colors.
Red looks good, yeah.
A lot of those decals were done using dots pieces, so they probably won over Amy's heart.
Mosaics, yeah.
Yeah, she loves those dots. So I think they nailed it.
Exactly. What about you, Chris? Did you like the Canadian car?
The Canadian car was the best.
Aesthetically,
for sure. Yeah, I really
down.
liked the brick sides and brick built front, and then it transitioned into plates.
Yes.
On the up at the top, and that was really cool. So I could care less about the theme because I'm not Canadian.
Yeah, it didn't resonate as much with me as far as the theme.
I don't dislike Canada. In fact, I like the people from Canada a lot, but especially Ryan Reynolds and Avril Lavigne.
Yeah.
But and all these Lego Masters contestants. But they definitely nailed it.
Will Arnett, you don't.
Will Arnett's from
is
Canada
he really?
too. Yeah,
okay, yeah, definitely.
He is
Will
Canadian
Arnett
too. He actually acts more American than the Canadian contestants. I think probably because he's used to Hollywood and all that.
Yeah.
But, Anyway, the Canadian car I think had the best sculpting. I like how they had the sides of the car built because the blue car wasn't really emphasizing that as much. Let's go ahead and talk about the blue car. It looked a little lawnmower-ish to me initially because of the big hood. How'd you guys feel about it? Let's start with Chris on that one.
Well, so I think the judges said that the front was a little... Well, actually, Jeff Gordon might have said it.
It was high at the front.
The front was not really aerodynamic, and it would look cooler if it came out more like a Formula One racer.
Yeah.
Now, I don't know if they had time to do that, but that would have looked really cool.
Yeah, a little longer nose, right?
It did look faster, but it looked a lot more fragile and basic because it was all plates.
And Technic, much.
Yeah. Now, the 90s theme, I loved that. That was a good idea. I'm a child of the 90s. They were all children of the 90s, so they... I think I was a decade earlier than them, but I was 11 to 21 in the 90s. I mean,
teenage
that was
years,
my formative years. So the 90s really shaped me a lot. So.
Yeah, the theme I thought was really fun. I liked 90s is more universal than Canada. So I think that they won in the theme department. I think that Brendan and Greg, their reliance on Technic probably helped their car be a little lighter and maybe a little stronger. I'm not really sure. We didn't get to see too much physical tests, except a little bit of the side fill off for Emily. But the theme was great. Color scheme was good. I think that they could have polished it a little more. I think because they went so technical, might have taken away a little bit of aesthetics because you're using less bricks. I don't know. Anyway, I think there was the right car was chosen for aesthetics. But I really liked their theme. So what about you, Daniel? What do you think?
I think the style of car they were going for was more almost like the Soapbox Derby style of car.
Yeah.
With that rounded front and then the way it was flat, but because it's up on an angle, it really kind of cuts in. Reminds me of like those thin, like fiberglass bodied kind of cars.
Yeah.
And I think that's what they were going for, but it did feel a little flimsy and cheap, I guess, kind of because of that. And the missing side panels, I think, was a major wrong decision. A
little knock on their aesthetics value, for sure.
And I wonder if theirs was built that way, number one, because Brandon was bigger. And in order to get in and out...
Might have been for his legs to fit,
They needed that, because his knees probably stuck out a little bit.
Well, he's 6 feet tall versus Emily, who's quite short, so it's a big difference.
And then he's heavier, so if they did use bricks, that would weigh the car down even more.
They might not have moved.
So they might have had to have done some of that. Be. Yeah.
But they didn't even, wrap the metal bars in the chassis in bricks or anything. I mean, you're looking at exposed chassis in the middle, which I think was a major thing that the judges were not happy to see.
Yeah, it looked like... if I could have guessed that the red car, they had a lot more time.
It looks like they did, just the way they put pieces down. So, because there's engineering and maybe more thought going into the Technic structure versus just sculpting. And that's why it looks like it's more full because there's more pieces and a little less engineering.
Yeah. They spent a lot of time on that skeleton to put that shell over.
However, Steven and Steven like to build strong things.
Yep, they do.
And they were like, this thing is not coming apart. And what happened?
It broke. Yep.
Because I think she fishtailed a little bit on that turn, and
that whole side flipped off
into
the edge of the track.
There were a couple times it looked like she was Tokyo drifting those corners.
I love they had some like GoPro shots of their faces as they're driving, and Emily looked like she was out for blood. It was great. She was very feisty, as Jeff Gordon put it. It's hilarious. So. Well, we talked about the aesthetics. We've talked about the race. Let's talk a little bit about we talked about the judging a little bit in between there as well. We're pretty much just agreed that the right team won aesthetics, and we think that the right, obviously the blue car won the race. We're glad that they strategized the right way, right? So
after that pit stop, I mean, there was really nothing you could do, I think, to change the order.
The track isn't wide enough, and it's too tight of turns. We kind of discussed that a little bit.
Now, if they really wanted to be that. If they really wanted the race to be more of a component, I would have rather seen them do it, outside or something. Set up a course that has more turns, a good mix of left and right, maybe some bridges and overpasses, something to give you more opportunities to actually pass. But I think the cars being limited to the speed that they were, if you're pedal to the metal the whole time, you're just going to stay at the same speed.
There's probably safety concerns. There's probably also those cars. I think that was a carpeted track versus outdoor concrete or asphalt. And so there is a big parking lot outside that set, which we walked through several times. So they totally could have built a whole track out there, but there was probably reasons why they didn't want to do that.
Yeah, they don't want to worry about weather and everything else, and filming a very secretive kind of show outdoors could be dangerous.
They really haven't left the studio with the contestants at all for anything.
Liquor Australia has.
Back then, and you learned, if somebody saw that and took a picture of it and you know what the last 4 teams are before the show even airs, that would be a pretty major flub.
That would. You're right about that, too. So,
but it would be really nice to see if they could figure out some way to do that in the future.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about Amy's outfit. That was pretty cool.
That was.
I liked her jumper.
Her
denim jumper, I think, is what you would call that.
Yeah, exactly.
With her dots patch.
Her patches, the
which
LM.
I really like the dots patches, and I don't know how you attach them. I don't know if you iron them on or sew them on.
I think you stitch them on.
I think there's a stitch on, but I'm not
I
sure.
mean, there may be a stick-on component. Oh, actually, there is a stick-on component because I remember lots of people like New Elementary and things saying this is like technically a legal connection now that you can just stick these things to whatever you want.
Yep, that's true. It's
But
not
I
a
think
Lego brick
there may
connection.
be holes that you can also stitch it if you want it to be more permanent, if it's something you're going to be washing a lot.
Very cool.
Yeah, that good outfit. And then I liked Jamie's got his typical suit, and then Will was wearing more of like a t-shirt and pants versus like a full suit as well. So he maybe was going for a more athletic vibe. And then the racer coming in with his helmet and picking the color team, that was fun. Yeah. I like the random element. That was probably almost definitely random versus these two are blue team, these two are red team. So that was good.
Which they could have done if they had known that they weren't sending anybody home. They totally could have made the teams whatever they want to be more dramatic, but when you get down to 4, there's not really that many combinations.
I think that any rotation of teams would have been fine.
Yeah.
Because it's like they're all good builders.
Everybody's
and
really good.
They're all, I think, getting along with each other, even if they joke about stuff. But so.
I did think it was interesting that they're wearing helmets while they were riding the go-karts, especially how slow they were going. They did that for the drama, the effect,
putting on
style.
helmets.
Just like, anytime they blow anything up or knock anything over, everybody's wearing safety goggles.
Yeah.
And I think I had asked you about that, and you were like, no, it's just, you don't need those. It's just for effect.
We were good, but.
Because when they had the golf cart, in the golf cart episode, that went faster than the go-karts.
Much, yes, way faster, yeah. So.
And they didn't have to wear a helmet to drive that.
That's true. They were just kind of riding around with that one. That's true. Yeah, but good episode overall. It actually felt like we had a lot more time with the contestants because there was only 2 builds. They showed multiple interactions with both Will and the Brickmasters for each team, which is cool because not only are there just 4 teams left, but there's only 2 builds happening. So they had plenty of time to discuss all that. So I appreciate having less contestants versus a whole army of contestants. I love having all those Lego Masters characters and faces, but I think we get to appreciate more when there's less people on there. So I don't know. Maybe Australia has a rate with starting out with 8 and then having tons of time for each team to shine. I don't know. So
also having all of those special guests and cameos and things, I think helped fill in the gaps because not only are we down to only 4 teams, but there were only 2 builds to talk about. So starting to pepper in some more interesting things helps fill up that time slot for sure.
Keeping it interesting though, for sure, because this was a radical episode of Lego Masters. Very much enjoyed it. But
What's in store for next week? I don't remember seeing the preview.
Fountains.
Water feature.
That's right.
I want to talk to you about that, Chris, because we've done Lego fountains here in our city display for a number of years. We ended up taking it out because of maintenance
too.
And they're at their conventions. I see mist effects a little bit more at conventions than fountains.
There was one at Brick Fair, Virginia, not this past year, but the year before, that was an indoor, a very large indoor mock. I don't know.
They had a waterfall. That's right.
They had a full-on waterfall. That was
now,
insane.
I don't think we can 100% claim inspiration for this, but I know that we probably contributed a little bit to it because Lego Masters producers have shopped here in the past to buy minifigures, bricks, whatever it be. They've been here before. They work with us on some things, or we work with them, I should say. And then they've probably seen that fountain before. And I feel like that, maybe that was in the back of one of the producers' minds. So I don't know. Maybe that's just me spitballing here, but
I remember when we built the fountain. I feel like I remember you thinking it wouldn't work.
I didn't believe it would work. It would be too much. It wouldn't work. And so it ended up working perfectly for a number of years.
Yeah, the only thing that didn't work right was, and it's not that it didn't work right. It just, in the wintertime, it gets dry because of the heat, and it the water evaporates so fast, so you've got to refill it almost every other day.
And it would run dry after a while.
So, I am thinking about adding a waterfall when the next time we revamp the city.
Sounds like a plan, because we could just build one like we did before and it would look great. But looking forward to that next episode. Waterfalls could be pretty challenging if you're not familiar with working with the various elements that are non-Lego in that situation.
It's very similar to the concept of the Great Ball Contraption, in that with the Great Ball Contraption, you're sending, if you're looking at it like a fountain, you're sending the water up and then you're sending the water back down, and you've got to be able to do that in a controlled way that it works every time.
I wonder if they're going to be gluing pieces or sealing pieces in order to prevent water from spilling out of Lego-built things. How much tubing are they going to be using?
Mm-hmm.
Obviously, it's not Lego. Lego doesn't do Lego waterfalls.
Yeah.
So,
I would have to assume, I mean, the basis for most fountains is you have some kind of basin that holds the bulk of the water. There's a pump, an electric pump that's submerged in that, and then you have a length of some sort of like rubber hosing or something that goes up to your top, and that's where your water comes out.
spills out somehow.
I think the challenge is going to be more about how you do something interesting with that water, or maybe it flows through a scene or something.
Yeah, this will be
But,
interesting.
I'm going to go ahead and call it. Next season, we're going to see a Great Ball Contraption challenge.
Yep.
Why not?
It would be interesting.
It would be awesome.
It would be.
Yeah, especially if they had to work together with other Great Ball Contraptions. All the contestants had to go to work
And
together.
they're hard.
Yeah.
They're very hard.
We've seen lots of challenges that are like building, either a city block or something that's kind of in a modular connecting way, sort of like the standards that you see.
The landscapes all connect together.
Yeah, like the standards you see at conventions like Space Base and, what are some of the other ones? Like Mills Play-based systems.
City
So
block, yeah.
seeing some of those other standard-based things that you see at conventions turned into Lego Masters Challenge would definitely be interesting to see.
Yeah.
I'm waiting for Lego Masters North America to copy the Australian version where you completely submerge the build in a huge tank.
Yeah.
Because a fountain's cool and it's challenging, but when you submerge something, it is a completely different environment, and that is very challenging. That was something I was hoping for in our season.
Because
And
you
they talked
had
about it.
experience.
Because
with
we've
it.
built the fish
And
tank here.
We
multiple
failed.
times.
We thought. I mean, you just wouldn't think of it.
Mhm.
But it's like, okay, these Lego bricks are heavy,
They're gonna
but they
sink.
float.
Nope. They
And
all
so
catch air.
That
Yeah.
first time we built the Rock Monsters one, did you do that or did Steven?
I did that, and it didn't float. We had to push it down with pillars, and you can't do that on the challenge as like Australia did it.
Really?
So you would have to kind of make sure it's strong enough to stick to the base plate, which is underwater. So
Oh, wow.
it's very challenging. So
Okay.
I was thinking about that and planning on it and hoping that they would do it, but yes, fountains is almost as challenging.
Okay.
It's good.
In the times that I've like washed bulk Lego by hand in like a basin of water or something, if you get the air out of the pieces, they will usually sink.
Yeah,
But you would have to, to do a build like that, you would have to build it
underwater.
Yeah, to get all the air out.
And we've done that here with the latest iterations of the fish tank with the Hoth scene, to building it underwater, so each brick was turned
Completely,
upside down
yeah,
so you
all
could
the
let the
air
air
out.
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
Wow.
So yeah, maybe
Sometimes
we'll see
you
that
even
in the
have to
future.
like knock them together a little bit to get
Oh,
the
yeah.
little micro bubbles
Shake
and
'em up a
stuff
little
out
bit,
of it.
yeah. Well, Lego Masters, I think, I'm guessing the finale will be more normal building, but we'll see. So
I'm sure it'll be a 24-hour build, whatever you want.
yeah, with maybe a slight theme, like
Something,
lighting
yeah.
or something,
Right.
like what we did last year. So,
Yeah.
but yeah, we're almost there, guys. There's just a few more episodes to go, and then we'll be able to
Almost
talk
done.
about the latest winner of Lego Masters.
Hopefully those 2 episodes will be over the course of the next 2 weeks uninterrupted.
Yes.
I don't know if there's anything else on Fox's schedule.
Yeah, this episode came out later than expected because we were hoping to watch this episode last week, but then there was more Masked Singer. So
Well, we've also got the holiday special. Do we know when that is? Is that going to be after the season's over?
I think Lego Masters is going to be nonstop till middle of January. We'll see
Maybe
how
we
that
get the
goes.
one more episode and then the holiday special, and the finale is after the New Year or something.
I don't know
I'm
if
not
the
sure how
holiday.
many weeks we have.
I don't know if the holiday special is one episode or if it's more than one episode.
That could be 2.
We'll see.
Who
So
knows?
anyway, it'll
They
be
don't
fun
have
to find
time
out.
to do 2 episodes, really, unless they put them back-to-back days like
Yeah.
they did earlier.
Like Thanksgiving, they did 2 episodes in a week. Yeah. We'll find out when we get there, and we'll review it when it comes.
Yeah.
So, all right. Thank you guys so much for watching. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. We'll see you then. Bye bye.